Hey guys, it's Jane, and today I want to talk about starting a writing group. My last video was on considerations before joining a writing group, and it occurred to me that some people may find that they can't find a group that they want to join, and or they may live in areas where there isn't a group to join. So I wanted to give some tips of what to do if you're looking to start your own group and things to think about and consider. So, number one, what do you want your writers group to do? Is it there to teach, to collaborate, to critique, or just for writers to socialize? Because you want to make sure that you're getting the right people into the group and that you're giving off the right message as you market and advertise your group. You don't want people showing up thinking that they're going to do critiques if it's a teaching group. And on the other side of that, you don't want people showing up who aren't ready to critique or aren't ready to be critiqued for a critique group. So before you even start your group, know what you're trying to do. Number two, who can join? Is there a fee? Is it open membership? This can get tricky. There may be rules depending on where you meet about whether you have to have open membership. Our writers group, the one that I'm part of in a longer term member, a year and a half, we meet at the library, and so anybody can come. We are not allowed to be exclusive. I have been a visitor to another group that was a little more exclusive. They met at a person's house, and so he certainly could say you can or cannot be here. Also, that group that was more exclusive had fees and different membership levels within the group. I would say that fees are reasonable if you want a group to be exclusive and you want to make sure that everybody coming in there is serious. But if you are going to charge a membership of some kind, you should have a really good idea of what that membership is going to. Are you going to get speakers coming from far away? Are you going to do events? I mean, that money shouldn't be going in anybody's pocket. There should be a very clear cut, this is what we're using the membership money for. The other thing is, what does that membership money buy? Especially if there's other writing groups in your area, why would I pay money to be in your group? And it may be that you're the only group that does critiques and you want just serious writers, so you have a membership fee for those who want critiques. And that fee goes towards maybe a booth at the fair at the end of the year for everybody to sell their books together. I don't know. There's a lot of different things that you can do if you want exclusive membership and a paid membership, but those are kind of things to consider. Where are you going to hold the meetings? Library, your house, cafe, restaurant, coffee shop. All of those are possibilities. When I was in Georgia, I was part of a group. Then I only went to a couple meetings that met at the local Barnes and Noble in the cafe area. And that was cool. That was obviously a great place for writers to meet. Here we meet at the library. Our library has a meeting room. And like I said, I've been to groups that meet at people's houses. Also, our group that meets at the library, we also once a month meet at a restaurant for an informal meeting at a meeting room. Like, they don't charge us for the meeting room, we just have, order food. So if you are wondering like, oh my gosh, I want to host a writer's group, but I'm nervous because I don't want people in my home, or you don't have the setup, you don't have to do it at your home. You can definitely check out your library. Most libraries are really happy to host those kind of things. It helps bring people in, and also, it helps with the community outreach, especially if they're getting government money. I know we have certain rules we have to follow, though, for the library meetings. We have to keep tabs of how many people come, and they help us advertise, so that's good. But there's also certain things we can and cannot do at meetings. So if you really want no holds barred, you're probably best doing it in your home, but then you risk maybe some people who aren't the best people coming into your home. things possibly breaking or missing or all kinds of potential things. Like, I'm not saying that'll happen, because hopefully it won't. Most people are good, honest people, but you open yourself up to a lot more hazards and possibilities and problems when you do it in your home. And then, like I said, if a restaurant or cafe or coffee house is open to you having meetings, that's a great place to go too. But again, with certain things like the library, you're going to have an easier time probably advertising it than if you have it in your home. So, number 4, what is a meeting going to look like? And again, you already know kind of from the start, like what your purpose is. So based on your purpose, what is your meeting going to look like? The meetings that I go to now, we start by talking about any news, any updates. Then whoever's teaching usually will go into a lesson. Sometimes if the lesson's going to be short, we'll do an exercise or we'll all hang out and write together. Also, sometimes we will share if we're working on a different project, like, what's your newest stuff? It's a great group. I love it, and that's kind of the itinerary we follow every week. Now, the group that I went to that did critiques, it was a little bit different. They came in, they did news, they did, like, what was the last group's meeting like? What news do you have? What updates? Okay, and then the critiquing. Everybody who submitted, they got out their submissions, did the critiques, and, kind of talked about the good and the bad of the projects that they were working on. Only you can know what will work, and it may change over time. But having a plan before the first meeting, I did go to another writers group. I've been to quite a few groups. There were 3 main ones that I went to that were fairly big, well established. But I went to the second meeting of a small group, and they didn't really have an itinerary. They were just kind of sitting there saying, I'm a writer. And it was hard for me to know whether I wanted to go back to that group because it didn't seem very organized. It was like, well, what are you doing? What are we here for? Give me an idea of what we're doing so that I know if this is where I want to be. And then the last thing is, where will you advertise your group? If it's at the library, they usually can help with that. The group that I'm part of, we have a Facebook page, so that's very helpful. A lot of people find us through Facebook and word of mouth in the library. The one that I went to down in Georgia, I found it on a website that I don't know if it exists anymore, called Meetup, where people would post different meetup locations for different things. I don't know if that still exists, but I assume something like it probably does exist. And you could probably post there. All kinds of options with social media. If it's at a cafe, it might be something that if they have a bulletin board, you can hang it up. It just really depends on all the other things. But I would put as much specific as you can. If you are a critique group and you're advertising, mention that you're a critique group. That way people will know what they're in for. Our group, we post what we're teaching about or our topic of discussion on the library poster and also in our newsletter. What are we talking about this month? That way, new people potentially coming in and wanting to go to the writers group know the topic, and they know if it's a topic they're interested in or not. We've had some great ones. We have had character development. We've had editing. We've had time management, NaNoWriMo. I mean, all kinds of things that people who maybe one subject doesn't really draw them in or they don't feel is like for them, they see the next topic and they might want to come to that one. So if you'd like to start a writers group because there's not another group that fits your personality, I think that's a great option. And those are some things to consider. One thing too, if you know other writers, I would try to start a group with a couple people and particularly of other experiences. That way you have going in some people with a little bit more experience than you maybe, or with some experience in case everybody that comes in is a newbie writer. One of the hardest things, I think, is to have a group where nobody's really done a lot of writing. And so it's hard for anybody to teach anything because they just want to learn. So keep that in mind. If you know other writers, especially those more experienced than you, bring them into. And also maybe don't start a writing group until you've got a little bit of background yourself. Maybe go to another writing group for a while, learn what you can. If you've never published a book, never queried an agent, if you're writing your first draft of your first manuscript, maybe you're not the right person to start a group by yourself, because you may not be able to teach and answer questions like somebody who's been published or self-publishing or at least finished their book. So those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Have you tried starting a writer's group? What roadblocks did you run into? Anything you want to tell me about your writer's group, I would love to hear. I know that it's a little different probably every area you go to. I'm very fortunate because within an hour radius, I think we have like 5 writers groups, 3 of which I've been to, so that's been really nice. But I know that's not the case everywhere. So good luck with your writers group, and I will see you next time. This has been Jane. Bye.